Call to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
and which
stands
stands
one nation,
under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can the secretary please call the roll? Having some audio here.
Secretary Treasurer Horowitz.
Here.
Yes, she's on.
Did you call my name? Here. Sorry.
Okay. Trustee Warner.
Here.
Trustee
Present. We have a quorum.
Pell.
Present.
Okay.
Here.
And
Here.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Problem with Lisa's unit, I think.
So we have a quorum present this afternoon.
Yeah, I think it's Lisa's unit. I can hear some in the next room, so I can hear her talking, and then it comes over later.
Lisa's got a problem.
Okay, so the next trustee meeting work session is December 2nd, and the next regular meeting is December 7th. We have a public hearing on first for a public hearing regarding Steve Malcolmson, 72 Far Pond Road. I make a motion that we open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody here to speak in favor of the application of the public hearing? Mr. Malcolmson?
I've got a few people in. I don't know who to bring in, but there's a bunch of, I got a hand.
Well, the applicant first. Mr. Malcolmson first, or
Jim Walker.
Walker.
Into science.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
All right, this is our fourth year. This is Steve Malkinson, 72 Far Pond Road. And we've revised the plans to reflect the town directives. We have returned to New York State DEC. And we're looking forward to get approval for the project and restore the shoreline using a living shoreline approach similar to that at the end of Little Neck Road. That's it.
Okay. So, Charles, does anybody else want to comment on this?
There's somebody there.
I see no other hands.
Mr. Malkinson said he's waiting to be admitted. He just put that in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Coming, just under a different name.
Mr. Walker, where are you at with the DEC?
Well, we have approval, Scott, if you recall, for the prior project, which was rock gabion behind the property line and moving the sanitary system. But since we have been back in front of the Board of Trustees, we have recently returned to New York State DEC with the plans that you have. And we were told it's a simple modification. So we are working with DEC to get the simple modification.
So they issued a permit ahead of us, and now because we're making some changes, you're going back to them for modification.
They're reflecting the town directives, same as the property owner. We're doing the same exact plan in front of the state as currently in front of the Board of Trustees.
I believe the Highway Superintendent, Alex Gregg, is on. I just seen him on the screen.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. I still have concerns how this was originally allowed to be put on the town's right of way and not on the homeowner's private property. I did reach out to you all and the attorney's office for an explanation because again, the road is eroding and it's causing flooding and we're constantly putting sand down there. And I just still can't understand how someone was granted a permit for putting a rock revetment when it wasn't their property to begin with.
Historically, along the Shinnecock Beach Road, we have granted permission for property owners to put bulkheads, rock revetments, docks, and decks on that 50-foot right-of-way, which starts at Fort Pond and runs all the way to Crab Road. And Mr. Malcolmson's property is part of that 50-foot right-of-way that we would be reviewing as far as our property, the trustees' right-of-way, roadway. So it transects your roadway on the end, but goes westerly all the way to Crab Road. It's a 50-foot wide stretch from Far Pond to Crab Road.
Well, it was unfortunate that no one provided me with that information before, but still closer to the existing roadway there's rocks that are clearly in the right of way. And the revetment has exacerbated the erosion, and what once was 67 feet more of road is now gone, and we're stuck with a situation where the road is starting to undermine again. We're putting sand there, and it's problematic. And I'm afraid what you're proposing is just going to make it flank around and come around to the next house on Far Pond Road. As I've been down there in that low spot, on high tide, the water's coming in on the road, sneaking between that last house that would be on the right-hand side if you were proceeding down Far Pond Road.
I believe that's Mrs. Schwartz's house. Well, what we're trying to do is mirror a similar situation, which is taking place at Little Neck Road, where the property was being eroded. Also, the road end, we allowed the applicant to put rocks there, similar to what Mr. Malcolmson's going to do. And in the time that that project has been done, the shoreline has basically slowed down the erosion. The road end has not eroded as much or at all since that project has been done. So that's why we're trying to mirror a very similar situation, basically a half a mile or so to the east of the property of Mr. Malcolmson.
Well, I found along the shoreline, no two things are the same. Each one has their merits and their drawbacks. But again, I'm still would like to see some clarification from the attorney's office about putting stuff in the right of way and the loss of roadway there. The roadway provides access to the public and the residents of that road for the enjoyment of the beach. And as a result of that rock revetment, you've taken that enjoyment away from the public and the neighbors.
Well, the rock revetment that's currently there does not impede anybody's access to go along the beach at low tide. Only at high tide is the plane of the water broken by the rock revetment. It has somewhat eroded over the past 20 or 30 years. I will give you that for granted. But we're looking to basically put the rocks in, do a environmental planting, and have a covenant on the property that has to maintain the sand and the rocks being covered, and a beach in front of it, similar to like the other properties along Shinnecock Hills, which we granted permits for bulkhead replacements, rock revetments and such. And there are covenants on all of those properties in the time that I've been on the board.
So what are you saying? I should put up a sign that only use this access point at low tide, Trustee Warner?
Well, that's the way it has evolved as it is right now in 2020. 1976, you could actually drive a truck around that rock revetment. But that's, between global warming, sea level rising, and loss of the beach, that's what has happened. That's why we've always advocated for the county to put their deposition site as far west and as close to Mr. Malcolmson's property as they possibly could. The last dredging project that was done on Far Pond and Middle Pond was the material was put as far west as we could possibly put it along Mr. Malkinson's property going to the east. And that was in order to gain some of the beach back that was lost in that area.
Well,
Well,
I
let me-
disagree. I believe that the erosion has been exacerbated by the rock revetment, and that caused the premature removal of that 76 feet of roadway. Clearly, it states that there's always, on the other side of a hardened structure, there's scouring. And it's obvious to see that that has been taking place.
Well, agreed. That's usually what happens. So what the plan is with the county is that we're trying to get that channel dredged further to the west, start moving it back to its original location to take the pressure off the road. We've got an increased fetch from all that sand that they took out of the what was that? The channel of the by the
Inlet.
inlet to fill the beach back up, which has caused a heavier wave action in that area. And we felt that instead of the original plan of going and adding to his rocks and putting rocks across the end of the roadway to stabilize that, would be to put up a wave break of some sort further out to mimic that little bar that's there. And that if it was necessary, as the beach built up, those rocks could be moved further out with a machine. It's easier to remove the rocks than those set of rocks as a wave break than to add it to properties and bolster up ends of roads as the site conditions change down there. We pulled a lot of sand off that berm that pushed into the pond, moved in front of the road, and it moved back out. It's going to be a dynamic situation for a little while, but we're trying to actually build that beach up and increase the access. And people were very happy with what we did last summer, and they want it repeated. So we're going to try to not only have the county deposit the spoil right there, but also have machines move it from that large pile that we have further to the west, which is building up rapidly. So if we have to move the rocks at some point as a wave break, move them further out or adjust them and everything, that was suggested by coastal. There's no doubt that rocks are, anytime you put a hardened structure in there, that rocks are going to affect things, but that's not the only thing we think that affects it down there also. It's that channel has been moving to the east, and it's been proven out on photos, aerial photos historically, and we're trying to move that back to the west. So hopefully that'll take pressure off that whole beach area. Does that answer some of your questions?
It's unfortunate that we lost the section of roadway. And it's causing problems on even a moderate tide. I don't know if your seaward rocks are going to make any difference in the years to come as sea levels rising. You know, we're talking, it's not a static thing. We have great evidence to show that sea level is going to rise significantly in the next 10 to 15 years and beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
This is Steve Malcolmson. I've been unmuted. Would this be an appropriate time for me to speak, or should I wait?
Well, let the highway superintendent have, finish his thoughts there, and then have you come in. How's that?
Very good.
Video on, please.
Alex, you there?
I will listen, and I reserve the right for further comment.
Of course. Go ahead, Mr. Malcolmson.
I just wanted to say that, as I think Chairman Schultz has pointed out, this is what I think we hope is the first step in a more comprehensive solution to actually not only preserve, but restore and enhance public access as per the trustees meeting last November. So I think this is, while the existing revetment may be part of the cause of erosion, it is clearly, there's multiple causality. And I've appreciated working with the trustees over the last year to try to fashion a less intrusive solution to the problem, and one that, per the conversation last year, will actually enhance, preserve and enhance public access. I would note that to the limit of my experience, nothing has been done by the highway department to actually preserve the road, which has in fact eroded over the last 30 or 40 years. And really nothing is being done now. This, as far as I can tell, is the first constructive thing which will actually present some level of protection to further road erosion. And dropping sand at the end of the road has accomplished nothing. So I believe that this is in large part the optimal solution for all concerned. My property, the road end, public access, the people in the neighborhood, and I look forward to continuing to work with the trustees in assisting that more broad, comprehensive solution that I think everyone has in mind as we go forward.
Okay. Well,
Eric, can I say one further
yeah,
comment?
go ahead.
I also have taken into consideration the project that was done on the Shinnecock Nation's property, the biggest, basically living shoreline project that was done in the state. It's probably almost 3 miles of shoreline where they put rocks, did a large dredging, sand fencing, and beach grass. So it's very similar. Our project is very similar, but smaller scale than what they did at the Shinnecock Nation. And the Shinnecock Nation has managed to preserve that sand that was placed there from the dredging of the East Channel, allow for the beach grass to grow. So we've taken into all of these account for all these factors, the rocks being there, the sand being placed, a living shoreline with proper vegetation above it, and a sand maintenance agreement that goes along with that whole project. I think we're trying to take into consideration each step and each issue that will come along. But like you said initially here, is that this project probably will be done in stages. This will be the first stage. We'll allow it to happen, look at it, review it, and then make modifications as necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't want to make the highway department incur any more costs than is necessary putting sand down there all the time. So we're going to do our best to transport as much sand to build up that beach in front, and the rocks, if they're have to be moved, then we move them further out. But our goal is to establish a bigger beach there, right, and take the pressure off the highway department. We're trying to make a best out of a bad situation down there, and we'll try it out and see how it works.
Correct.
I can't speak for my predecessor, but I've been here 11 years and I've been putting sand off and on for 11 years down there, as various other locations throughout the town. As you know, we have many road endings and we try not to have them bulkheaded so people can have access. And this is one of the situations. If you look at the shoreline in total, you'll see that the rock revetment property is the one that sticks out the furthest. The rock revetment is the cause. It's not allowing for the beach to naturally build and go back away. And another part of the problem was opening that pond up to Shinnecock Bay. I don't think it's the same as the Shinnecock Indian Reservation because you got a narrow channel here. You don't have it down there by Long Neck.
Wait, opening the pond, what, the suggestion that we close it, or?
I'm just saying that's part of the problem.
All right, well, I think there's a couple of different issues at the problem there. So, I mean, if the rock revetment is causing some of the problem, which it probably is, I admit that was granted a long, long time ago. So what is the other suggestion of what we should do down there? I mean, we're just trying to move as much sand and put a wave break in. We're not talking about armoring the end of the road or anything like that. If the beach builds up, then the road can be extended out further. We're talking about building sand in front of Mr. Malcolmson's property too, transferring it from that huge stockpile down on Middle Pond. So that would take the pressure off the road, right? I mean, let's work together on it. What are you suggesting?
I have been working together on it for years, trying to keep it so people, and other road endings the same way. But you said yourself, you look at it, that property with that rock revetment is totally different than the rest of the shoreline down there.
Agreed.
So that's what I have to say. I'm supportive of Marty's idea of removing a majority of the rocks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, a good chunk of what we wrestle with today at the Board of Trustees is trying to mitigate these land use decisions that were made long ago, whether it's allowing homes in certain areas and septic systems, or like he had alluded to, the pond, opening of the pond. Prior to 38, Shinnecock Inlet was closed, and now you've got, rushing water and tides and salt water and a thriving fishing port. That's all not going to change. So, we have constantly having to adapt our practices to try and do the best that we possibly can in this situation, which is a tough situation.
Well,
Just saying.
I really feel that, some people are talking about CPF buying the property, removing the rock revetment and the bulkhead. And if that was done and removing the house, I would say I would give it 10 years, and then the next house would be up for an erosion issue, because that area is so highly erosive because of sea level rising and the wave fetch from the Atlantic Ocean that rushes across those bars. Even at a calm ocean, at a moon tide, you have waves that lap against those properties at high tide, and even that nibbles a little bit, and that's in a calm situation. When you take a northeaster and followed by a southwest gale and 20-30 foot seas that rush in there, those waves are 2 or 3 feet, and they wash all the way across the bay with a lot of wave energy, and they pull that material. The bay is not made for that wave energy to come through, but since the inlet has been established, it does. And I think it's up to us to try to come up with a method or a plan that will work. I mean, I guarantee you that if we permit this within 6 months to a year, that it will be modified in a way that it will be more adapted to that year in advance. That's what I see.
I think the reason
this as being a silver bullet. I see it as being an ongoing solution of change.
Well, to your point, I think that's why it's called, and that's why it's being embraced, the living shoreline, because you end up in these situations where the bulkhead is not gonna work out, and you're trying to find that balance of nature, the green and gray, where you can kind of recognize what you have going on and create some form of a living shoreline that takes all of those variables into consideration, and thusly the living portion of it, which is why in nature things they change, obviously they adapt. Perfect scenario? No, the whole situation is not a perfect scenario, but we're now challenged, along with the Department of Environmental Conservation, the state, which is why I was very curious from Mr. Walker in terms of where they're at, because it's not just the trustees that have an authority to say what's going on here. It's also the state of New York and the DEC. There's valid points all the way around, but Mr. Malkinson stated that the dumping of the sand has not been working. It's a great effort. I appreciate, our highway superintendent being involved and trying to help the situation, but that's apparently not working. Living
And we moved
shorelines.
all back. Scott, we moved all that sand back. We transported it, put it back in the road so everybody had a beach this summer.
Mm-hmm. And it looked nice down there.
Yeah.
So,
Now it might be an ongoing type of thing, but we have to stand around like a bypass system for a while there until the thing. But
I think
other than
all of
if
this
you
is going to
remove
be
the
an
rocks,
ongoing.
then that has to be. Yep.
It's all ongoing.
Exactly. Agreed.
I also understand that there's some
As in-
CPF land down there.
everywhere.
I understand there's some CPF land down there that the rocks may extend on. Did you get permission to put rocks on the CPF land?
The new plan is to keep it within in front of Mr. Malkinson's property and on the Shinnecock Beach roadway right away. Not on the
Right.
CPF property.
It's a 50-foot wide right of way that extends from the high water mark and the floating.
I don't
floating
know if something being purchased by the CPF fund extinguishes historical easements or right of ways. That's another legal question, but I don't think it does.
Well,
Well,
it's
it's-
unfortunate these don't get answered before you get ready to issue a permit.
Well,
Thank you for your time.
look at the entire outer beach. It's all protected by historical easements, right? And chunks of that have been purchased by the Community Preservation Fund. And I don't think there's anywhere in the law that would extinguish rights of way or historical easements that benefit the public. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think this project is trying to do many different things. Protect a property that is 72 Far Pond Road, to allow public access, to build the beach up, to strengthen and stabilize the shoreline. I think it's doing a lot, and I think it's a project that we should look at very, very, very long and hard, because I think it's something that along this stretch there are unprotected properties along Shinnecock Hills, and people are going to come in for rock revetments and bulkheads, which we haven't given one in many years. So I think this is the lesser of many evils. I think it's something actually we could turn it into a good project and put a positive spin on it.
Yeah, this is unfortunate. This whole piece of property, the permits were issued on this a long time ago. The DEC issued permits there, and we're just trying to do something to get that beach back for people. So we're gonna try something. Got to do something.
Well,
Can't just sit there and just say move rocks. Put
it's
some
not
rocks
like
in. It doesn't work. You move the rocks around. You just get a payloader and move them around. That's
Yeah, it's
all.
not
It
like-
has to go out.
It's not like you're pounding in 25-foot steel sheathing and putting a tie back in a dead man system where it's going to be an extraordinary cost and an extraordinary, how would you say, stress on the environment. It's placing rocks, and you can go down there with a payload or an excavator and move those rocks around and stage them in a way that initially it might work okay, it might not work okay, and you can move them around in a way that can make the project, simply said, more functional as time goes on.
And have you
What
have
are you
any?
anticipating? Ed, how many cubic yards of dredged spoil are you anticipating placed on that beach?
This year, probably around 5,000 cubic yards.
Okay. And they're going to move the channel more to the west, right?
That was what we asked them. Yes.
And I know you did a lot of work on living shoreline. I'm just wondering, what your thoughts are on the same type of living shoreline for this area.
Until this point, Mike?
My thoughts are that this is a super complicated. Mr. Malkinson, would you mind muting your screen, please?
Sure.
My thoughts are that this is a super complicated, difficult decision, and unfortunately, it's one of those things that although none of us made the initial built the house or permitted that revetment, we are now faced with the challenge of what to do. And one thing I have to commend so many people about is Mr. Malkinson, your patience and persistence with this, because this has been a long, hard road to attempt to come to a decision here. Mr. Walker and InterScience, thank you for coming back, for listening to what the board and the community said, and working with the board and the community. The county also working with the trustees and the homeowner to attempt to mitigate a situation where spoil has been put in one spot for an extenuating period of time. Many of the trustees as well for working with the homeowner, with InterScience, with Suffolk County DPW to see what could be done. This is not something that the community asked. At that initial public hearing back a year ago in November, the community spoke and they asked for a long, for there to be a thorough evaluation here. And I really feel as if that has been done. To speak to the living shoreline, I hope that that will be a living shoreline. So shore hardening structures range from gray to green, gray being the most armored, most difficult to remove type of shoreline, green being something that would be at the least invasive. And then there's something in between, and living shorelines are usually something in between. They increase habitat, yet they protect from the fetch of wind over water, and they try and work with and create some sort of balance between the interests of the public and beach access, the highway department and the end of the road, the trustees and their protection for the rights of the people. I think a critical part of this, though, is the monitoring. With any living shoreline that's permitted, there's at least 5 years of annual monitoring that involves a report and then maybe some, as you're saying, movement of the rocks. So I think that probably is something that needs to be in writing so that there could be a report issued each year and a discussion that's an ongoing discussion, as each of you had said, because this isn't something we are faced with. The challenge of 72 Far Pond Road is the canary in the coal mine with sea level rise. And that's 69 or 85 feet of roadway. It's not just this revetment. Has the end scour on this revetment been part of it? Absolutely. But it's also sea level rise. And I think all of us need to look at the big picture here. There's no room to move this house back. The fact that the septic system is being upgraded to the least nitrogen divulging septic system is a benefit, as is the planting of the vegetation, as is the possibility of reworking this. So Scott, you probably didn't expect all that, but for the just net, I think there needs to be monitoring language written into this as well.
Listen, I'm thrilled I asked the question because I know that you did a lot of work on the shorelines that were down in the western part of the town. And I wanted to get your opinion on what you think, and I appreciate you answering the question. Thank you. Terrific input.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any comments on it? Okay.
Well, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
My next question is that I believe I should sit with Sean and go over a covenant that embraces what Ann spoke about and what we've been talking about as far as a monitoring and a sand maintenance on that property and certain, parameters that we can set. There are covenants that have been placed on multiple properties along Shinnecock Hills. We've had several lawyers draft different, basically covenants up for us. So I'd like to take a couple of them that we have in the office, or one of them, the latest one, and go over it with Sean and reword it to make it work best for 72 Far Pond.
And Ed, I'm available on Wednesday, if you are.
Okay, on Wednesday afternoon, I'll make time for you to. I'll come over there, sit down, and we'll pull some of the, past permits and what was how it was worded, and draft a new covenant for Mr. Malcolmson to look at, and and his attorney. Okay.
Sounds good.
I thought that was in there already, as far as the replacing the sand on that, correct?
It
me if
is,
I'm
but
wrong.
well, it is in there, but there are other wordages.
Conditions.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we have it all covered. I really do, because I think a lot of people in the community are going to be looking at this, people in the town, the highway department. So I want to make sure that we really go through this with a fine-tooth comb and make it a good covenant so that everybody's comfortable with it.
Okay, but how's this going to play in with the dredging and everything? You're proposing to extend this out through into another meeting until these covenants and restrictions are drawn up? How's that going to work with?
I don't know how long before the county's going to be over here. I know they're going to be at least another week in North Sea. And then they plan on heading over here. The worst case scenario is they pump the sand down the beach, and then we'll, allow Mr. Malcolmson to do the project afterwards, and then remove the sand back. That's the worst case scenario.
It's going to cost us extra money to start moving all the sand back. Isn't it better to have them?
I don't know if they're going to pump the sand. I don't think they're going to pump the last conversation I had with the Suffolk County DPW, they were not going to pump the sand in front of Far Pond. They would put it down the beach closest to Mr. Malcolmson's property. And then that would give us a stockpile of sand for Mr. Malcolmson's contractor to remove the sand and put it on the rock revetment.
Eric, if you want, I'll address at least some of those issues.
Okay.
The project that Ed showed us at the end of Little Neck Road is almost identical to the fetch that hits 72 Far Pond Road. They're both subject to the southwesterly winds. They both have problems with chronic erosion, and they're close to dredging projects. So when we were encouraged to do that type of project, it's based on something that's already been done, and now they have Ed can attest to this. They have a lot of intertidal marsh growing in front of the rocks, and they have beach grass growing above the rocks. the trustees can approve this project and condition it on a covenant that could be provided at a later date, and I'm sure that would be acceptable to the property owner. But the idea of putting rocks in an area is a breakwater. It's the same as if we put biologs there, except the biologs are less permanent and the rocks provide a longer term solution. The sand that goes behind it may get eroded during certain storms, and we may lose part of the sand in some future event. It's hard to imagine that you wouldn't. And what happens in those situations is we add sand back. We do a little beach restoration with beach grass planted after new sand gets put in place. Moreover, the town's been approving these projects on Peconic Bay because of erosion there. These are very similar to projects that were approved for Judith Rothenberg on Peconic Bay. These are things that are pretty well understood. We have rocks, we have cobble underneath, we have filter fabric, and we put sand above, and we planted the beach grass. This is not a real complicated process, but the important part about the town trustees and the county, the dredging at Far Pond used to always be done, and the material was put on the town property, and it was a dredge spoil disposal site. And since that it doesn't happen any longer, we have a loss of beach there. So the opportunity for the trustees to take and add sand to the west of the breakwater that we're proposing is immense. You can do it for years and put all the sand that you can pay to move in that location, and you're not going to make this project any less valuable. And moreover, we gave them a cobble area for the DPW to get down on the beach. So you can get access to the beach. You can add all the sand that you want. It could go in front of the old dredge spoil disposal area, which is to the west of the road. And we are going to preserve the end of the road by putting sand in front of it. And we're going to have a breakwater, and we're going to plant it to beach grass, and people can go down there and use the access the way they used to. We haven't been provided with any reasonable at all alternative from Southampton Town Environment Division or the Highway Department. Not a single positive step. But I remember Alex Greger during the initial public hearing said he would want the property owner to recover part of the end of the road. Well, that's what we're doing. We're putting sand at the end of the road, and we're going to make the end of Far Pond Road much wider, and there's going to be sand and beach grass. This is a nice solution to the problem, and it's very similar to what Ed did over at the end of Little Neck Road, which has been a big success. It faces the same southwesterly exposure, is right next to a dredged inlet, and had the same kind of very difficult problems to deal with, which have been successful over a pretty long period of time. Ed can speak to how long it's been there. But that's the type of project that we're hoping to get approved today, and we need to get approved as soon as possible so we can go back to the DEC and get a modification and put a breakwater in there, and then put sand behind it and plant it in April. That's the basic hope. I'm sure Steve Malkinson would agree.
Mhm.
Well, do you want to run it past our attorney, whether we can close the hearing, vote on the resolution, or should we craft a covenant first and then goes along with the resolution?
And I can speak to that for just a second as well. When we get an approval for Southampton Town Conservation Board, or in East Hampton, or in Mattatuck, the covenants are addressed in the resolution of approval, and they're required to be submitted, and they have to meet the town attorney's review, and they get approved as well. But the covenant comes after the resolution of approval. We need to get a resolution of approval so we can go back to the state. Yep. And get the project modified based on the approval that was granted 3 years ago.
I'm going to advise the board actually against that. Any covenants, if you're going to approve this, should be in it today. We're not leaving anything until after the fact. I'm advising you not to do that. Exactly. If you'd like to adjourn it, that's fine too. James, if you have the survey for this property, I'd like to see if it is indeed in the town right away, as the trustees project should be within their jurisdiction. And I see the highway superintendent also wants to make a comment here. So just to wrap up, I'd say determine what is and is not in your jurisdiction as a board. Either approve with conditions, or deny the application. Those are your options, or you can adjourn it. All right, thank you.
Right, we could approve this subject to to a covenant being filed to address sand replacement and the monitoring.
Okay,
I'm advising you.
I thought he said we
Put them on the meeting today.
That's what I thought he said. We should adjourn it until
Yes.
he looks at the covenant
All
and
right.
then approve at the next meeting.
well,
Okay.
then
What Dawn just said.
I can meet with him on Wednesday and go over everything and tidy it all up. So,
And Alex still wants to speak.
okay,
I just wanted to speak to Mr. Walker's comment. It's not the highway department's job or the conservation boards to provide him with an alternative plan. And in fact, Mr. Shea did submit a alternative plan that the highway department supported. So for him to come up with that is incorrect, and it's the applicant's job to come up with alternatives. I think you would request alternatives most of the time when you look for something. Thank you.
Now, this has been going on since before I joined the board in January. I'd like to get this off the table. I'm sure Mr. Malcolmson would be. We have a lot of other issues to involve in. Every time it's discussed that we're going to close this public hearing and adopt it, some new twist comes up. Can everybody please put in their final comments once and for all and get this thing straightened out? And we've got a lot of issues that we have to tackle, bigger than this. And this is trying to find a solution before the county starts dredging to get this done. I mean, this has been gone over ad nauseum.
Well, when is the county supposed to be in there? Because if the only thing that's holding this up is this covenant, if the general consensus of the board is, I mean, if need be, we could perhaps call a special meeting and get this thing done. But I think that Sean gave some excellent advice, and that is have this ironed out before we adopt the permit. But I do see the need.
That's all well and good, but why wasn't the attorney's office telling us about this? And it's always at the last minute all the time, that this all should have been gone over again, that, hey, we're going to need covenants and stuff like that. And it's over with. Now the secretary's got to put it on, extend it out, more public hearings, adjournments, paperwork. Fourth, let's make a decision.
If I may, I was not the one who recommended covenants on this. I've been advising the board to either accept with conditions, or deny the application the past several public meetings.
All right, well, let's accept with conditions. The conditions that there's a monitoring plan in place and sand replacement.
So
Right.
that should be done before you accept. So put those conditions on your public
Yeah.
meeting. If that's what you're inclined to do.
yeah, we have done this on other projects where we asked for conditions to be put on a permit, basically like this, and we could discuss it. I mean, I think there should be yearly sand maintenance and a yearly report generated for 5 years to see how the project works and scientifically and environmentally. So I think those would be two things that could happen on the resolution.
And can we mirror the language? Can we mirror the language on the other living shorelines that we did to the west?
Well, yeah, you could, subject to submission of a sand replacement program.
Yep. A yearly sand maintenance and also a yearly monitoring.
Yearly sand replacement. Sand replacement plan. And monitoring report.
Yeah.
How's it?
Yeah, at the determination of the trustees, and the applicant would have to pay for both.
Determined
Hey,
by-
James, can you pull up wording on any of those other living shoreline permits where we mandated this type of a wording? Where it's already been legally written?
Well, that you can work, yeah, I mean, we would approve this thing on subject to the submission of a sand replacement plan and monitoring report. The bulk of the plan would go ahead, and then when those things are submitted, then the permit gets issued. It's subject to their submission of covenants and restrictions,
Okay,
plans.
And I'm going to advise you once again, if you can just put up your plans and survey on the screen here and make sure it's within trustee jurisdiction on your public meeting, if you're going to make a decision on this today.
James, do you hear
It's-
that?
Everybody's familiar with the Beach Road. I mean, Shinnecock Beach
Shinnecock
Road
Beach
is a
Road.
foot wide, 55-foot road that extends from the Shinnecock Canal to Fort Pond.
It's Crab Road to Shinnecock to Fort Pond. It's a 50-foot right away from the high tide mark landward.
Well, there's a debate on whether it should be called the right of way because it's actually in a deed, but they call the right of way is 50-foot
Yeah.
wide, and that's been in existence since the 1880s.
Right.
There's
Yes,
of instances where we have come across this, especially in the Crab Road area where there's those groins and things like that. So, it moves. Every permit that is issued along that shoreline indicates that road on it.
yes.
Extends from the high water mark up.
Is James on or is he?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I'm on.
Do you have access?
I'm on my phone because my computer wasn't working for this, so I have to share via the video, not the share screen.
Oh,
So if you can look at my
James, you have to keep talking in order, oh. wait.
okay.
Yeah, if you keep talking, then it keeps,
So I have up the plans right now. They're showing these plans. This is the most recent plans that we received for this project.
Mm-hmm.
And I could pull up the survey as well if you'd like.
So is now the town attorney's office going to have to make a determination of whether we own the road or not?
So this is the survey, most recent survey that we have.
Mm-hmm.
All right, can everyone see that?
Yes,
So in actuality, with Shinnecock Beach Road, our road extends into Mr. Malcolmson's property.
correct.
Right, Ed?
Yes, and it extends into the highway department's roadway and also extends into the CPF property, which is west of the highway department's road, and has really nothing to do with this project because it's outside of what we're looking at.
However, if the beach builds up 50 feet, then it moves out 50 feet.
Right, and then Mr. Malcolmson will get more property and the town will get more property and so will the highway department. So that's our goal, is to have a project that's designed to slow and stop the erosion in the area and to eventually bolster the beach up and have it grow.
So
What it's worth,
as a board, you can make this decision. I'm not here to make that decision for you. I'm here to advise you how to make the decision and make a complete record. So amongst yourselves, you can make that decision and vote accordingly.
So subject to a submission of a yearly sand replacement plan and monitoring reports is acceptable to the town attorney's office as an addendum to this permit?
All right, is that the complete covenant and addendum that you're gonna add in there? Is there any further language?
Subject to a submission of a yearly replacement plan, therefore it would not be issued, I guess, until the plans were received.
I'd rather have you have specifics on the record right now, if possible.
We have, just to chime in here, we've spent over a year on this. I think it would be prudent to do this right. Ed stated that the dredge will finish in North Sea Harbor probably this week or next week,
Correct.
and that they won't come around. Our next meeting is December 7th, where this could be approved or voted on with conditions, extensive conditions.
So as I stated, I'm not trying to steer you one way or the other. This is the board's decision. I just want you to be as specific as possible.
Mr. Walker, how's that December 7th date work with you?
I think it's a terrible idea. This is our fourth year. It's not our first year. It's not the second year. It's not the third year. It's the fourth year. The project sponsor has every incentive to agree to yearly sand replacement, and a monitoring report is a standard thing that is imposed on projects like this. But I've been pushing permits for 37 years. Boards issue resolutions approving projects all the time, and a covenant follows. The covenant needs to be approved by the attorney. It's the way things are granted routinely in the town of Southampton and many other jurisdictions. We need to get this approved at the state as well. They're looking for the trustees to resolve and approve the project. And when we go back in front of them, they're going to issue a simple modification. I was advised by Mary McKinnon that that's what they would do, assuming that the town issues approval. I think we need to get an approval from the town, and the conditions may follow. A covenant to replace sand is pretty simple. We see monitoring reports adopted for all kinds of projects that our office is involved with. Be glad to supply those to the town attorney's office. But I would say that I have never been involved with a Southampton Town Conservation Board approval or any of similar approvals in the town of Southampton where a covenant stopped a resolution of approval. Obviously, to meet the conditions of the resolution of approval, we're going to have to submit a covenant, and it's going to have to be reviewed by the town attorney. Monitoring report plan, same thing, and it would have to be reviewed and approved by the trustees as well as the town attorney. It would be a big help to be able to go back to the state and say, the town supports the project, this is what we're going to do, issue the modification, and in the meanwhile, we'll be drawing you up a covenant and a monitoring report plan. I don't think it's more complicated than that. The sand that would go back behind this double row of rocks is most important part of Steve Malkinson's project. It's what's going to hold up the bank that's falling into the water. If we have a northeaster, it's going to be ugly down there. It's not a great situation. We've had storms continuously all summer. All the sand that Eric Schultz got down there have washed away. We're working with the town. We're putting all the rocks in the right of way where it's supposed to go. We're putting all the sand except for a little bit of sand at the end of Far Pond Road within 50 feet of the high water. The high water line was surveyed. It was surveyed and put on Suarez and Holden's maps. You have everything that you need. We will gladly submit a sand replacement plan and a covenant based on other projects similar, and a monitoring report plan once a year is in everybody's best interest. I don't really see how it should hold up the whole.
Well, let me bring up something real quick. You submitted a plan that shows rocks and it's got sand on top of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So a year goes by, the trustee for the area goes down there and sees that there's no sand on top of that rock. then he's in violation of his permit, right? So do you really need a sand replacement plan? You just say it's not the same as what we approved. Really, right?
Yes,
It's also, the whole thing is taking place in the 50-foot wide right-of-way of Shinnecock Beach Road. He's
Yes.
technically not even doing it on his own property. It's the trustee jurisdiction in there. So why do we need even these plans? If he doesn't have the sand covering the rocks, he's in violation of the permit, and he gets a letter from us, send it in, and fulfill it up. So therefore, you don't need covenants and restrictions and all the rest of this stuff, because it's already written in there. If it's not covered, he's in violation. Right?
If I can address some of those points. Mr. Walker, you've used the word the town and the trustees kind of interchangeably. They're not the same thing. We have to understand the trustees are an independent sovereign and an independent board, and we have another town department objecting to this. That's why I'm asking the board to make this as clear as possible. That's all I'm asking the board to do here today. If they would like to make a decision to approve with conditions, or deny, that's upon the board today. But we want to make clear, we have another department here that I'm not going to speak for Highway Superintendent Gregor, but it seems he's objecting to the application. So we want to be as specific as possible so the trustees can weigh a full application here.
Well, that's going to necessitate the town attorney's office making determination of who is the true owner of the 50-foot wide Shinnecock Beach Road.
Or will it necessitate, the conditions of this covenant and the sand replenishment and the monitoring be reviewed, after the fact? I mean, I know Sean wants to do this all in one shot, but, you could
Just
maybe
add the
have it,
language to the resolution, then we can vote on it
and
as
then you
is.
can tighten up what you got to tighten up. I know we've done this on these other properties, I believe.
Yes.
As
Well,
Trustee Warner suggested, that would be an approval with conditions. If you're inclined to do that today, go ahead and do it.
Right, approve with conditions.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Chairman, it's your floor.
Well, I would suggest that we approve it on the condition that the rocks be covered as per the permit that we're approving. It has to stay the same all the time. Now, I don't think that you need. I don't think you need a submission of a sand replacement plan. They're just going to agree to maintain the structure, or whatever you want to call it, in the condition that it is as it's approved. Right?
Well, I mean, I think
go ahead.
I think Ann was talking about a monitoring type of.
And a yearly monitoring, we should go right in there, and
Correct.
that the property owner shall pay for it.
Okay.
And that would cover everything.
And I think that's what we requested on those other living shoreline applications. I'm trying to stay consistent with what we did with those other living
It
shoreline.
is, Scott.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I just want, I think if you maintain consistency with those other living shoreline applications.
And there is language on all the permits that we have issued for the Shinnecock Beach Road. If the public ever wants the roadway to be reestablished, that the property owner has to remove all the structures that have been placed there at their cost. It is one of the special conditions in the permits for the Shinnecock Beach Road.
I think all that's fine. Why don't you consider
Yes.
1 foot of sand fill over top the proposed rocks, and a yearly monitoring plan with photos due on January 1st of each year.
That's fine. That will cover all the concerns that I believe were brought up and addressed. We will have addressed them.
Property owner is going to want to have the sand there. He's going to want to maintain the sand in any reasonable manner. And once a year monitoring with photos is what's required in all kinds of projects we get approved by, for instance, the East Hampton trustees.
Yep.
So 2 questions. Do you put in anything about the movement of sand from the stockpile to the east of the house? And do you put in anything about the working with Suffolk County DPW as far as the channel being relocated further to the west.
Well, that's a totally separate issue.
Separate
that
issue.
we're-
That's
Okay,
a
so
separate
you
issue.
don't-
This is a super hybrid situation that we don't usually deal with, and that's why it's taken so long to keep this to explore all the possibilities. You know, I mean, he's going to be made to submit a monitoring report, but that's going to be up to us about moving the sand that the DPW deposits down at Middle Pond and moving it around. So how is that going to affect? He's going to be required to do a monitoring report, and we're going to be moving sand at the same time. And what happens if we want to move the rocks? I mean, once the rocks are down there and it's on our property, we don't require him to get a permit. We're going to be moving them, right?
So should all of that be in writing? That's what I'm asking. I don't know if that goes in conditions. I don't know. You know, this
Variables.
this
Well-
house, exactly. This house is in a, I mean, it's a tricky situation here, and I just want to make sure all our bases are covered. Because it's not just the homeowner, it's the, you know.
So would,
Go ahead.
wouldn't he be, if we thought necessary to have to reconfigure rocks, wouldn't he be reconfiguring those rocks?
He would definitely be footing the cost of it.
That's what I'm saying. So you're gonna want to just spell that out.
At our
Direction,
direction. Yep.
right? So you're gonna want to make sure that that's spelled out. We're giving him the authority to do this project, and the DEC is as well. But there's going to be the sand replenishment, the maintenance, the monitoring. That just has to be spelled out. If you can spell that out, then you got everybody. He knows what's expected of him. The trustees know what they're getting. And I know this has been done on those other projects, so it shouldn't be that tough.
Any future manipulations of the rocks have to be, gone through the trustee in the area.
Okay.
All right.
However, have another agency of the town questioning our authority on the Shinnecock Beach Road. So therefore, I believe that the town attorney's office is going to have to make a determination of who owns the property. Whether we can if that's going to be, if this is brought up at this 11th hour, how are you going to issue a permit today if you have another town agency contesting ownership? Right?
Well, but we've consistently issued permits for these projects in the same.
Yeah, but the ownership,
Shinnecock Beach
Alex, what Alex is questioning is his roadway where it intersects the Shinnecock Beach Road. And that project is going to be all on our Shinnecock Beach Road. So
I don't think.
That, Ed, but he's saying that he owns 47 more feet further out as per an old survey.
yeah, but that isn't that accretion of ocean, and over a long imperceptible period of time that
Yes.
grains of sand lost. And since 1976, when I started driving, to now is like 40 years, and it's literally evaporated it's taken 40 years for this to happen.
I don't think Alex realized that there was that Shinnecock Beach Road situation. I don't like. It seemed to me we didn't have a communication.
It wasn't.
That he could understand that.
It wasn't communicated to him.
Right. So I think now he gets that. He understands it. He has concerns, valid, but I don't think he understood the Shinnecock Beach Road. It's very complex, unique. But it's something that we've issued permits on for as long as I've been sitting on this board here, right?
Well, it was on his application for Lenape Road when he replaced the bulkhead, so he should have known that.
Lot going on.
All right.
I mean,
So
can we come to some consensus on what the wording needs to be on these conditions so that everybody's protected relative to the monitoring and sand replenishment?
Okay, so far,
And
submission of a
adjustments.
yearly monitoring report and sand placement plan as per
the original application, as per the
Original-
original application, it's right on it now.
Submitted. How's that? As per original plans submitted,
Yep.
approved plans submitted. How's
And
that?
those are the ones that we're gonna be voting on, so that's what you want to do.
What
Okay.
about movement of rocks as necessary? What about replanting of intertidal marsh or beach grass?
I think that would be another stage further down the line. I really do. I think what we should do is approve what we're looking at today. And after we get a year's monitoring and look at the situation as it evolves over a year, then I think we can make a better decision on that in the future.
Yeah, we might have to, as it is, we're gonna try to build in every conceivable option on a beach that's being very dynamic right now. And
Well-
I think that's kind of impossible.
Yeah, well, just to let you know, the Little Neck Road project was approved, and that Spartina, that's seaward of that rock revetment, was basically no bigger than maybe a bushel basket. And now it's probably, 50 or 60 feet by 100 feet. And that all evolved by itself. So,
Mhm.
that's a good thing. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here.
Well, if we're gonna bring sand down there, we might have to move some of the rocks too. So, I mean, we can't, you can't account for every single thing. It's like I said, a dynamic
Yeah.
situation down there.
Well,
Somebody's got to.
Then can you, oops, sorry, Scott.
no, I just want to let Mr. Walker jump in here because he's in the direct line of fire with this. And see if he has any further to
Moving
add.
rocks requires a state permit. You have every ability to require a town permit or a state permit if the rocks are going to be moved. So it's not a real critical thing for a resolution of approval today. If those rocks need to be moved sometime in the future, somebody's going to have to apply to do it. And it would be in Malkinson's best interest to make the application and cooperate with the town and cooperate with the state. He's been cooperating with the town. Eric Schultz deserves a lot of credit for bringing sand down there and trying to run the middle ground and make everybody happy. But the truth is, the sand doesn't stay there without a tow protecting it. We're putting the tow back. It's in the Shinnecock Beach Road right away, and it's very similar to the Little Neck Road thing. And I would bet that Ed Warner has it called, right? The intertidal marsh is going to grow. It's already there in front of the rocks. And the beach grass is going to grow landward of the rocks because it's in Steve Malkinson's best interest to grow the beach grass and make it grow as best as it can because it's the best protection for the sand that's going to be placed there. And then the people get to come down and use the end of the road the way they always did. And I think it's a win-win situation that is custom made by the town trustees, and the state has said that it's a minor modification to the project. And these things are difficult to deal with, but they are not issues that we have not seen. We see them on Peconic Bay. This is probably something that's going to be common in other areas, but where we did this type of project and we planted beach grass above it, the dune vegetation does very well. And we would expect that the sand that washes in front of the rocks would help the intertidal marsh that's already growing there to further expand. That's what's going to hold the shoreline better than the rocks. The beach grass and the intertidal marsh are the best things that could happen on this type of project.
Thank you for that, Mr. Walker.
And if I could just say one thing, of course, I cannot address the, technical legal concerns of the trustees, but I would just point out as a matter of, I don't want to say common sense, but no one has more interest in preserving the sand and the effectiveness of this the rocks and the sand and monitoring. There's no one that has a greater interest than myself. So of course, sand replenishment, monitoring. I can assure you, I mean, I'm sure that assurance has no legal standing, but just to put your minds at ease, of course, I can assure you that that will be done on a periodic basis and whatever the trustees require.
You good, Eric?
Yep, yep.
All right.
All right, well, first order of business is to, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, I'd like to make a motion to do a walk-on for, to address and
So you're gonna go out of order, Eric?
improvement, what?
You're gonna go out of order.
We're going to take it out of order. I'll second that if that's a,
Yeah, we'll do it right now, a walk-on for approval of the Steve Malcolmson project. So Ed made the second? Did you, or no?
All in favor?
aye.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Bill? Okay, all right. So that's for the walk-on. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the permit for Steve Malcolmson. Let me get it here. This would be Suffolk County Tax Map 0900.
Eric,
What?
I can't, I'm not on the meeting at all. I'm gonna have to go upstairs.
Okay,
Can you, I didn't get any of the motions or anything.
okay, then sign on and we'll continue the meeting.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
Yes,
Can
okay.
you put a hold so I
Yeah,
can go
yes,
upstairs?
yes.
Okay.
We have to put a hold on the meeting momentarily because Lisa has lost connection down here. She's going up to another computer upstairs. So when she comes back on, we need her to record everything, okay? So we'll take a 5-minute break here. I'll be right back.
Say something, Liz?
Yes, can everyone see and hear me now?
Got you. Yep.
Okay,
Much better, Lisa.
sorry, I lost audio and video at the same time, and I am now in a laptop in the town attorney's office, so I should be good to go. Okay, so we closed the last, I'm sorry to take up extra time. We closed the public hearing unanimously. Eric was the mover, Ed was the seconder, that was unanimous, and now we're going to move into public portion. Is that what's happening?
No, I thought we were going to take it out of order.
No, it's in order to keep things clean. I just had a conversation with her and Sean there. In order to keep it clean, we'll do the regular meeting, and then with the walk-ons, we have a package of 4 walk-ons, and we'll do it right then. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That cleans the meeting up.
Yes.
I don't want to mess their order up. Stan has. Okay. Because this was a walk-on for approval today. Okay, so let's just go on with the regular meeting. It shouldn't take too long. Okay, so let's go into public portion right now.
We do have a request from Arlen.
Brody.
Yes, to speak.
Brophy.
Yes?
One moment.
Okay.
Coming in.
Okay.
At the meeting.
Can you put your video on, please?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hi. So this is about 65 Cliff Drive. I sent a picture. Seems that the owners at 65 Cliff Drive are now requesting a zoning change on their property to build a larger than what's permitted house, even going above the pyramid law. And there's a meeting December 3rd at 6 o'clock, which the entire neighborhood will be on. But my question is, and I see how busy you all are, but have you heard back from them concerning the remediation plan that I know you gave 45 days for from October 16th? Do we have anything to bring to this zoning meeting to help stall their plans to rebuild?
All I can say is that the attorneys have been talking back and forth with each other on some sort of solution to the problem. But as far as the other plan, as far as your issue, we were not aware. I don't think anybody on this board has been aware of a new submission for a zoning change. And I don't know whether that's before the Board of Appeals and the town board. And I don't think
it was just posted Saturday.
Okay.
You're gonna have to go to the zoning board.
We're going.
Right.
Yeah, the
So that-
appropriate venue for that is the ZBA meeting.
Right. Not here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's December 5th at 6 o'clock. We'll be there. I was just, if something had come about in terms of a remediation plan, we could present it at that time so that until that's done, perhaps no further going forward on construction could happen. It's an entire neighborhood involved now.
I understand that. I don't think that would impact with the Board of Appeals, because they're still going to have to, anything that they did would have to be within the 75-foot imposed by the Conservation Board. There's covenants and restrictions filed on that property already regarding that.
But a violation or a summons until perhaps the remediation takes place might have quite a bit of authority moving forward.
Well, we gave them the 45 days and we have to wait until that particular time. That's how much time they have.
Is it, Mr. Schultz, is it 45 business days or just 45 days from the 16th?
Ms. Brody, if I may, it was a notice of violation served. Counsel for 65 Cliff Drive did contact the trustees. That's what they're required to do. We are in negotiation with them. So the Board of Trustees cannot speak for the ZBA. I would encourage you to go on that meeting. You are, looking at the right venue by going on that meeting. This board can't speak for the ZBA though.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
65 days.
No answer. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else lined up to have any public comments? Okay.
Yep,
What?
1 second.
Okay.
Coming in now.
Hello?
No.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Schultz.
Hi.
Tiffany Gavin, 53 Cliff. To Ms. Brody actually said everything that I was going to say, but from my understanding, if there is in fact a violation on the property, anybody seeking further relief would be denied that if there was a formal violation on the property. That's where I feel that this formal violation that expires November 30th was the 45 days. I don't want this to fall through the cracks the way the bulkhead being removed without any permits fell through the cracks. So if it's, from my understanding, the ZBA speaks to the trustees with regard to some, to have some sort of conversation when they're asking for relief of setbacks within, and it must be noted that they were already granted relief on setbacks. The applicant, 65 Cliff, did ask for lesser setbacks. And under the filing and recommendations, Martin Shea granted that if the bulkhead would be removed. So we see what they do with their relief. So we want to make sure that no further relief is given to this property. And we will be speaking to the zoning board, but I think it's very important that there is, if you don't have the information on the 30th, that a violation needs to be put on this property. So we could stop anything from moving forward there.
Right. So you can call up a day or two later or so after that time limit it's expired, and we can advise you on where we are on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And it's December 5th. You said it's December 5th?
It's December 3rd at 6 p.m. It's a video conference.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was just posted. And I just want to jump on one thing that Ms. Welker had said about monitoring shorelines. Martin Shea visited our shoreline and said he's noticed no changes to the shoreline on February 3rd was his site visit. This is what the shoreline looked like on February 19th. So if Mr. Shea is the one monitoring this, he's not being very forthcoming with real information, because this was 1 week after he monitored and said that there have been no noticeable change to the shoreline. It's in the FOIL findings. So I would like that also noted.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. And we have a ton of sand over here if you need it for that other part of the project that you guys were talking about.
Hang on a second. I have a question for you.
Yes.
I was reviewing some of the photographs that you submitted of the bulkheads, and it was dated 2019.
Yeah.
Showing the bulkhead there. who took those photographs? How'd you get them? Do you know? Did you take them
Online.
or
No, Zillow.
it was
Read
online?
it. Yeah, because interestingly, also in the FOIL findings, there's no application to prove the functionality of that bulkhead, which from what I understand, there is an application that shows the classification of it. There is also no photos. And in the emails between Mr. Shea and DEC Walker, Mr. Shea confirms that he has no pictures of this bulkhead. So the bulkhead was a full functioning bulkhead and it was removed. And that when Mr. Walker from the DEC told me he didn't have any photos, we quickly were able to get them online. And Mr. Brody also, one of the bulkhead pictures Mr. Brody had, because he's directly next door.
All right, well, that was the picture of the post that was shown exposed.
Well, yeah,
I'm just
that,
trying to figure something. If you found it online on Zillow, was that for an advertisement for the house for sale?
yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
we don't know. I'm just trying to ask when those photos were taken. We don't know that they were taken in January or in 2019. They may have been indeed taken 2017. I'm just trying to get a handle on.
No, I understand. One of the pictures was, this one was taken by Dan Brody in 2019. But the other, the other pictures from like the opposing shoreline showing the 3-foot high bulkhead intact, that was Zillow. And when you speak to that post, I paddled past there yesterday. The post is now fully exposed and the land is continuing even further to erode. I don't know if you could make that out. Do you see the soil step? That's my paddle.
Right.
Just my paddle height is 14 inches.
Okay, so that answers my question. That photo that you just held up was
This one, Mr.
2019. Okay, very good. Okay, thanks a lot. That'll
All right,
help a lot. Okay, bye.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, anyone else?
I see no other hands.
Okay. All right, then I'll go into the application for permits, and the Board of Trustees hereby waive a public hearing on the following applications because it has been determined that the following projects do not raise a significant degree of public interest or public input. It's not needed to aid in the decision-making process. First resolution is Trustee Resolution 2020-249, waterfowl hunting location permit. Denial of a new waterfowl hunting location for the application of Edward Bunch, Peconic River in Flanders. We discussed this at the work session, and I'd like to make a motion that we deny this application. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, who was
Aye.
the second, please?
Me.
Thanks,
Ann.
Ann. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa, you good up there? Are you getting a good signal?
Yes, I've had no
Okay.
problems, none. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Resolution 2020-250, waterfowl hunting location permits. We discussed this with the Bay Constables, and the first one is a transfer of a permit application from Robert Bossing and Edwin Shuttleworth, permit number 51, transfer of permit application to Andrew McCavanagh. And second, Donald Bennett Jr., permit 20, addition of co-permittee Donald Bennett III. Third, Donald Bennett, permit 27, addition of co-permittee Donald Bennett III. Next one is Robert Bossung, permit 45, addition of co-permittee Edwin Shuttleworth. Fourth is Charles E. Miller and Charles E. Miller Jr., permit 69, removal of co-permittee Charles E. Miller Sr. And whereas the following waterfowl hunting location approved individual from wait list applications were received, One was Richard H. White, permit 203, approved individual from waitlist. So I make a motion that these all be approved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Is the highway superintendent still here? No? All right, we got trustee resolution 2020-251, LK McLean Associates, the applicant for the town of Southampton. This is the superintendent of highways portion of the Bay Avenue project.
Excuse me, may I speak?
Sure.
I received a telephone call on my personal phone from Mr. Keith Masseria. He is on the call. If you have any questions from LK McLean, he would like me to let you all know that he is available for any questions if you'd like to let him in.
Okay, thank you.
I'm letting him in now.
Okay, so I want to thank Superintendent Alex Greger for working with us on this project. I think it's going to be a great project. As the board knows, we've been endeavoring to replace the pier portion, which is owned by the trustees. This section is under the authority of Superintendent of Highways Alex Greger. I think we should grant this permit today and waive obviously all the fees associated with it. Really needs to be done. And I'd like to say, Alex, at some point, if you want to meet down there with myself, we have cash in working on our paperwork. Where this way we segue nice and have a nice holistic project go on over there. I want to thank you for working on this.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. We have the bid specs completed. Allison has them. I'm hoping to go out to bid within a month, and we don't know if we'll do it this year or the beginning of next year, but thank you. It needs to be done.
Needs to be done, and
Right.
we're pushing on
Good.
ours as hard as we can as well. And it's an important area, for the entire community. It's used recreationally and commercially. And I'm looking forward to working with you on having a nice project there. And I'd like to move this forward.
I'll second that one, Scott.
Thank
All in
you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have 2020-252. This is an application for the Shinnecock Shores Association. This is their canals are constantly in need of dredging. It's the dredging project for Shinnecock Shores. It's an important project. Looking for a second on this.
Second on that, Scott.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I've got trustee resolution 2020-253. These are the two projects that we worked on a couple of work sessions ago. This one's Robert Latora, 7 Hyler Drive, Hampton Bays, tax map number 900-258-1-6. Looking to move this forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So
Trustee
carried.
resolution 2020-254, the application of Kent Spellman, 21 Rampasture Road, Hampton Bays, New York, tax map 900-293-3-9. It's a dilapidated bulkhead on Smith's Creek, need of repair immediately. I'd like to move it forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2020-255. Permit number GP00142, application Briggs, Elwood, and Sasha Elwood, 7 Helen Lane, North Sea, tax map 0900-61-1-74. Part is Fish Cove. I'd like to advance this forward.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried.
20-256, application renewal, first time for permit GP 000107 Robert and Jessica Gubbins, 40B Island Creek Road, North Sea, tax map 0900-92-321.2 body water, Little Savannah Creek. I'd like to advance this one forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
2020-257. Application James McWeeny, 231 Big Fish Pond Road, North Sea, tax map 0900-94-125.2, body of water, Big Fish Pond. I'd like to advance this one forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
I've got trustees resolution 2020-258. It's warrant number 19 of 2020. And it's in the amount of $17,583.48. We generate that number from Automotive Rentals Inc. for the Sander for $69,2660. BNB 1205.59. Call Ahead $50. InterScience 3171. Sokoloff Stern $880. Staples $41.26. Stony Brook University $5,000. Verizon Wireless $283.50. And the WB Mason Company for $29.53 for a total of $17,583.48. Need a
Okay.
motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
Got trustee resolution 2020-259. Amend the adopted budget for the Board of Trustees. What we need to do is we need to approve an appropriation from the fund balance in the amount of $50,000 to cover additional legal expenses because we've had an active year on the legal front. So we need to move money from fund balance into the 2020 budget so that we can cover our legal expenses that we have remaining for this year. As the board is aware, we have adjusted our 2021 to hopefully address that in the future. But as you are also aware, we have terrific resources that we have to defend as trustees. And this is why we maintain fund balance, so that when we're called upon to protect and defend, we are there. So I need a second to move this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
You with a
carried.
second? Ed, you with a second?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one is trustee resolution 2020-260. This is to set the trustees meeting and work session dates for 2021. We felt it was time was needed to add it to the town website. We're going to adopt this now. So make a motion that we adopt these meeting dates. Not going to read them all off, but
Second.
it's for the whole year. Okay, any questions?
No.
Okay,
No.
Second.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So next one is 2020-261. This is a resolution to amend the Board of Trustees fee schedules for 2021. Any questions or comments on it?
I think we
Well,
gotta
we
go,
got to work on this.
You want to table this?
just go,
I think it's going to have to be tabled because I think we have to change a couple of things that are listed on here. I mean, for
Okay.
one is this, the reprints and the lost licenses and stuff. I don't think $15 is enough.
All right, let's discuss it individually with each other and come to some consensus so we can adopt it at the next meeting, okay?
The staff's very busy. I think, people coming in.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a good start, so.
It's an excellent start, but let's table this and let's take this at the next one.
All right, so we're going to table this to December 7th meeting?
Yeah, I think that should be enough time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll get everybody's comments together. We'll come to some consensus on it, okay?
You think so, Bill?
yes, I agree with Scott.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk about it right now.
Oh, we have a few more items to discuss right now, and we can talk amongst ourselves. Let's get it might be
Fine.
quick to do it that way. 2020-260, oh, that's Bill's next. Sorry.
I'm sorry, we need a second on the motion to table by Secretary Treasurer
Second.
Horowitz.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Bill's next. Local laws.
This is 2021-262 to recall and amend trustee resolution 2020-247, notice of adopting amended rules and regulation for management and production of water of the town of Southampton, Article XI 61B calendar year term to accommodate the 3-year 4x4 beach driving permit, and Article 62B to addition fee for transfer of permits to new vehicles, and Article 63B calendar year to accommodate a 3-year 4x4 beach driving permits.
Bill, you want me to address this?
Yes.
please.
Sure, go ahead.
There was language in here referencing free replacement stickers. We need to strike that.
To add these conditions?
Okay, motion to amend.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Lisa.
Make a motion that we approve the application of Steve Malcolmson on condition of submission of a yearly monitoring report submitted on January 1st and a sand replacement plan to ensure permit compliance. Anybody have any additional language that they want to put in there? Because this would mean that they would have to ensure that the permit is being followed at all times. That would mean that the sand would, that was the profile that was submitted on the plan would have to be complied with. Otherwise, they'd be in violation of it. And a yearly monitoring report.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. How's everybody else feel about it?
I'm good.
And did you want?
Would James gonna help me write the conditions?
That's it, right there.
So just a yearly monitoring plan and also sand replacement?
I have it written down. I'll give it to you at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So now you just need a motion, you need a second on the motion
Want to
to
get
adopt it as amended?
I just want to get Ann's comments before
Oh,
we vote.
sorry.
Okay.
I just like the roll called when we vote.
Yeah, fine.
Yes.
So you don't
Okay.
have any additional comments on it.
So
gonna-
Eric has a motion on the
I'll make the
floor.
motion. Who's going to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call as follows. President Schultz,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Horowitz,
Aye.
Trustee Warner,
Yes.
Trustee Pell,
Yes.
Trustee Welker.
I would have been more comfortable with conditions that had been more extensively reviewed and designed. However, given, and especially since this project is under scrutiny by a department of the town. However, given the time-sensitive nature of this project due to the dredging window, as well as the extensive period of time that this project was under review, I am okay with it going forward today. I would like to perhaps repeat myself by commending the collaboration between Mr. Malkinson, Jim Walker of InterScience, the neighborhood, Alex Berger of the Highway Department, Suffolk County DPW, and the work of several members of this board on this project, and especially Mr. Malkinson for his willingness to work with the Board of Trustees and the community. We look forward, Mr. Malkinson, to working with you on, as you stated, what I hope will be the first step in a comprehensive project, not only looking at this property, but at this entire shoreline going forward. Therefore, I am in support of going forward today. Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
And all right. So it's so approved, and this would be trustee resolution 2020-263, correct, Lisa?
No, it has not been assigned an actual, well, once I assign it a number, yes, that's correct, President Schultz.
Well,
Right now, you can identify it as its ID number, or it will become 263, yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Last one was 262. So following.
That's correct, yes,
Okay. All right. So carried.
thank you.
Okay. Second walk on is a notice of public hearing on amendment of Blue Book A340, Section 61, a boat ramp and four-wheel drive beach driving permits, ramp permits calendar year term. Okay. So we have interest in amending the Blue Book to allow for the expansion of the ramp permitting program to allow for the purchase of residents and non-residents 3-year ramp permits. That's 3-year ramp permits. and imposition of a nominal fee to effectuate transfer of these permits to new vehicle upon application of the permit. So notice of public hearing, that public hearing will be held for December 7th. So I'd like to make a motion that we schedule for this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Okay, third one, notice of adoption amending the rules and regulations for the management and the products of the waters of the town of Southampton to add subsection C on Article 12, page 64, public access, to add subsection C to allow for issuance of permits for use of trustee-owned kayak, canoe, and stand-up paddleboard storage racks, and implement guidelines for the use of the storage racks. Okay. So I have a
Second that
motion.
one.
Okay, all in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the fourth and final one is the notice of adoption amending rules and regulations to allow for the issuance of corresponding dinghy permits for storage on trustee-owned beaches for permittees possessing a valid mooring permit. Do I have a second on that?
Second on that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Eric.
That concludes the items that we have on schedule for today. We have some other items we have to discuss, namely the one is Tom's Pond. So Ed had some concerns with that. Well, Bill can fill us in on what was placed in Tom's Pond and where it is, first of all.
Tom's Pond is on National Golf Course. Inside the fence there, it's basically, it's about an acre pond. If it's an acre, it's about, say, 60 feet into the fence by National, just a little bit north of their driveway. It's fed with a pipe under the road by a culvert. It's a good flushing pond. It's a good sanctuary for clams and scallops over the years. We put a lot of small scallops in there. Cornell wanted to give us a bunch of scallops and put in a place where they could be safe, and hopefully they would grow and spawn to help refurnish the stock for next year and not be walked on or eaten up. So that's the place they wanted to put it in there.
Okay. So we had talked about closing that down for shellfishing this year.
Yes.
See if there would be a good area to, for the scallops to possibly proliferate and for the shellfish to grow. So we use it as a transplant area, so to speak, nursery. So, and I know Ed had some concerns with it.
Well, I have been contacted by several baymen that utilize that pond for clamming and soft clamming during the season. It's open from December 1st until the end of April. It's a conditional area. And this year, they told me that it was going to be hopefully a very good harvest. There's a lot of juvenile hard clams in there last year, and they were looking forward to going there and clamming. I understand that you guys put some scallops in there. I'm hoping that the scallops were put in the deeper water because that pond has as much as 12 to 15 feet of water on the north end, and on the east end and south end, it's about 6 to 8 feet. So if the scallops are placed in there and the baymen go in there for a period of time clamming, they're going to be scratch raking and only accessing up to about 3 feet of water. So hopefully the scallops that are in there won't be interfered. But I did have an idea, and I did discuss it with the baymen, that that it was potentially going to be closed, even though I was not told about it, and I found out through the grapevine, which does concern me. But we have a lot of areas that are closed in the town for shellfish hatcheries. I mean nurseries. There are, I believe, 11 spawner sanctuaries. An area in Tiana that is closed to the baymen for the college for their Shinnecock Bay restoration, and a very large area in Western Shinnecock Bay that we closed for Cornell and the governor to put clams in. I feel that out of every town, out of any town in the East End or in the state, we have the most productive shellfish area that have the ability to harvest legally, but we have it closed to shellfishing. Being that said, I'm always try to be proactive and think about the best scenarios. One scenario that I would like to run by the board being that, the first month of the season is around Christmas time. The clams can be sold, and it would be, smart of us if we open Tom's Pond just for a month for hard clamming. After that, close it up for the rest of the commercial season, which would be the rest of the winter, at which time everything goes dormant. The clams would be able to be taken out of there. One consideration that has to be taken into account is with a very high clam population, there's a potential for QPX, which is coral hog parasite, and it will actually kill or destroy most of the clams that are in there if it happens. So by us utilizing the management of taking the size clams that are able to be harvested and taking them out, it will give more food for the scallops and juvenile shellfish that are in there, and will be a better nursery.
Ed, I have an opinion on that. I wanted to take the northeast corner of Scallop Pond and make it a sanctuary. I've been clamming in there for the last 10 years or more, going out there to get my 100 clams a couple times a week. I give them away. Okay. I've been in Tom's Pond. There is no new set of clams. Just like Gobler said, there's tons of clams in Shinnecock Bay because we have the clam sanctuary, what spawn. You have to give it a rest. Okay. We asked them 1 year to give it a rest. Okay. You want to be pro clamming, then give it a rest. Let the stuff grow. Let the stuff spawn. Okay. If you find that if it's overabundance of clams in there, yes, then we can open it back up or do a transplant. But if you go in there, I spoke to the same clam diggers you spoke to who scratch along there. Okay. They went around the whole edges of that bay and of West Neck, and they said there's no clams. There's no new seed in there. There's no new seed in Tom's Pond. Okay, this is the same people you spoke to. Okay, I think you're getting the wrong information, or I'm getting the wrong information from the same guys. Okay, I think that we actually should make a clam sanctuary, put another clam sanctuary in Scallop Pond, so we can have the clams spawn. So the freeholders can go get their 100 clams, and we all can also support the commercial clam guys. Okay, right now the only clams there are mature clams. There's very little necks there or seed clams in there. I've been going in there. If I go into Cold Spring, there's tons of seed clams in there because you got the southeast corner as a clam sanctuary in that corner where you can't go clamming in there. There's a lot of clams in there. Okay. And that spawn all over there. That's a good place. There's always places for these guys to go scratch. We're asking one little area to put a sanctuary for a year to see how it's going to last. It's not going to kill those two guys. Okay. This has been Tom's Pond has been a well-kept secret from the trustees for the last 40 or 50 years. Okay.
Well, it's not a secret anymore.
No.
Well, Billy, you're not even asking me. You're telling me it's closed. I'm a trustee. I'm one of the members of the board, and you're telling me it's closed. I'm telling everybody it's open because I didn't know anything about your plan. So it's a very poor lack of communication.
Right.
And I did reach out to several of the baymen that told me that there was a considerable amount of seed in the last year, and they were looking forward to it this year. Personally, I have not been in there and clammed in probably 10 years. The last time I clammed in there, I used a chainsaw, I cut holes in the ice, and I dug through the ice to get my clams so I could feed my family. That was the last time I was in there. So personally, do I have firsthand knowledge of what size the clams are, how many they are? No. It was brought to me by several of the baymen over the last 2 weeks because they said they go in there and they make a pretty good living the first couple times they go in there. It's a very small area. And after that, they leave it alone for the rest of the winter. This is, and it's closed for the whole entire summer, and then it opens up. And we already have more shellfish sanctuaries and more bottom closed than any town on the East End. I'm telling you right now, I know this for a fact. We have all Aquanic Bay closed, which is 1,000+ acres of productive shellfishing. It's been closed for 30 years. I'm always, if there was a considerable amount of bug scallops in there that would be hurt or stepped on, I would say no. But my understanding is you guys put the scallops in there. I'm hoping you put it in the deep water. If you didn't, the seagulls are going to go in and eat every scallop you put in there. But I mean, and if you put them in the shallow water, then it would be difficult to go in there scratch raking. But it was brought to my attention. I didn't know anything about it. I did some research, and I do know that if there's a large quahog population in there, and if it's not maintained on a certain, taken down to a certain level, you could possibly get QPX, and every single clam that is in there right now could die.
Yes, we all know that, Ed. And that's something, that's why we said, let it alone for 1 year, then we can go back and test, okay? We can have Gobler go in there, or have Greg go in there, do a area test, see how thick the clams are, okay? The clams are not that thick in there, like you say, thick enough to get a disease.
Well,
okay?
I'm not saying that.
You're threatening it, Ed.
Let's get wait a minute. Let's get the information first. Partially, it's my fault because I forgot to bring it up last meeting to discuss this. Okay, so I'll take the blame on that. But the way I do feel about it is we don't really have any clam sanctuaries in that area. Chris Gobler was on here and said there's more landing at the last meeting. There's more landings in the bay than there has been in like 20-something years. The numbers have gone up tremendously. So, I mean, for one little pond, which just a couple of guys know about, the whole town knows about it now. If it is productive, you have to go through a bunch of hedges past no trespassing signs, and basically nobody knows that this pond exists except for a few guys that go in there. And it would be an ideal place to let it rest for a little while. I don't know how many acres there are in the bay that's open. We're also, Cold Springs going to open up. That's a conditional area. We're doing we're keeping an area open in North Sea, right? We're going to do that on top of that, right? So that's those are other additional areas that are opening up. All the conditional areas and the seasonal.
Well, yeah, areas. all the seasonal areas. But a couple of these guys don't even have boats to go out in Shinnecock Bay. That's why they came to me. They literally have a pickup truck, an inner tube, and a scratch rake. They don't have a lot of money, so they go around to all of these little areas, when the season opens up, to make a few dollars to survive the winter. That's all I'm saying. And as far as them, they will take the legal sized harvestable clams, and then if there's and I don't know how many clams there are in there, so I can't even really speak to it. But I do know there's another whole sanctuary in Sabonic where we have the eelgrass that no one's allowed to go clam and scallop. And there's lots of clams in there because I believe we put almost 500 bushel from the Riverhead River, which were never harvested because it was all overtaken by eelgrass. So there's that whole sanctuary that's in there too. So, I mean, I'm just saying that there'll probably be no more than 100 bushel taken out of this little pond, and then for 1 month, and then close it for the whole winter. And then it will be a sanctuary for the rest of the winter.
You're saying that's a compromise management plan? You're saying only, what are you saying?
I think it's a smart management plan, because if you're putting more shellfish in there than will sustain during a spawn, you should harvest the largest ones, the marketable ones, the legal marketable ones out of there, and allow what the rest of the shellfish for the next growing season. So a 1 month harvest and then close it for the rest of the winter would be a good management practice. If this had been brought to my attention prior, I would have worked on this with the rest of the board and had some more facts. But I mean, I would have asked one of the maintenance guys or taken somebody at Bayman down there and seen how many clams there were in there. But it was brought to me like at the 23rd hour, and I don't even know personally what the clam population is in there. So I can't really even speak to it in a really good, rational way. I'm just bringing secondhand information.
So let's assess the clam population in the next couple of days, and then we'll see if we have to have a special meeting one way or the other. And also, if it is open, then there should be a clearly defined path in there and signs indicating where Tom's Pond is, and a press release going out, because there's a lot of people now that are not commercial and they want to go out and they want to go access go along the shoreline too, who don't have boats. It's not only commercial guys that don't have boats, it's also people that want to go out. They have nothing else to do and they want to go clamming. And I have countless people asking me where to go clam. So this would be a great place then if we open it up to let the whole town know that it's available for their resource to clam out of. So,
Eric, any bayman that's been on the water for the last 20 years knows where this place is. We had as many as 15 guys in there cutting holes with chainsaws back in the 80s.
All right, well, maybe then the town doesn't have any, the townspeople don't know, the people that don't have commercial licenses. So I think we should let them all know that this place exists.
Right.
There's lots of places like this, Eric, that exist that people just don't take
Yeah,
the
but not on private,
time to.
not when there's signs saying it's private property. They don't.
Yeah,
go
but
in.
that's another whole issue that I should probably bring up, is because when Tom Lewinsky was the greenskeeper and the manager down there, we had all the baymen had access to it. And then as time has gone by, the Nationals has gotten the entrance smaller and smaller and basically don't want any commercial fishermen in there. And that was a fight a few years ago amongst the baymen because they were being chased out by whoever was doing the property management down there. And we had a fight for them down there then. So that's another whole issue, that by making it a sanctuary for a year, are we catering into the Nationals and maybe, oh, why don't you make it another sanctuary for another year? I don't want to see that happen either. That's another issue.
No, National has not been talked to at all.
Okay.
They're not involved in it in any way, shape, or form. The only thing I suggest is then talking to whoever's in charge there to delineate where the path is going to be and signage saying how you can get in and out, so there's no problem.
Do you want
John,
me
do you want to
contact
weigh in
one of
on
the-
that at all? Sorry, Ed.
Do you want me to contact one of the local baymen and ask one of the bay constables to go with them down there and pick a day and go down there to see what the clam population actually is?
I think we should have Greg from Cornell to do it, so he could do it scientifically and.
Sure. I mean,
Okay.
Billy, I mean, and then we'll all know the answer to this question, what the clam population is in there.
Okay.
When you find that, either way you go on this issue, I would encourage you as a board, under A340, Section 16, you have special authority to modify, amend, or change methods, equipments, and essentially places where you can fish and where you cannot.
Right.
I'd recommend you memorialize it in a resolution, either way you go, pursuant to Section 16 special
Right.
authority.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
but the access there needs to be, someone needs to talk to whomever at National.
Yeah, I'll talk to him.
Okay, delineate it.
All right, so-
That's no big deal.
So let me get this takeaway here. Today's the 23rd. When are we going to have Cornell go in there and do the, sampling, and how are we going to put that out to the people of the town? Are we going to keep it closed until after the first meeting in December, at which time we're going to make a decision?
I'll call Greg tomorrow, see when he's available to go in and do a test.
Yeah, but
You'll
I'm
see.
trying to.
You want to
put the work-
extend it to December 7th?
If I'm trying to put, if it's gonna be done the right way and everybody wants to know about it, that way we can have the sampling done and we can have like a press release on December 7th, our meeting, to put it out to the public. It's open, it's closed, there's clams in there, and why we're closing it, the whole 9 yards. We can do it very nice,
Okay.
Interrupt, but that's why I'm
okay?
recommending you do a resolution, because that will be published and be public that way. Either way you go, then it's public.
Strongly suggest that, Bill, that you talk to whomever at National sooner rather than later.
Yes.
If there's going to be this access.
The access is no problem. They'll just clean it out, trim the hedges back.
All right, so then, if December 1st is the opening date, and you're talking about having a meeting on December 7th, then necessarily we'd have to not have any clamming in there until the 7th, until there's a resolution on it, correct?
You would have to,
Work session on the 2nd, we could have a special meeting prior to the work session.
I was about to suggest the same thing.
We've done it before. I mean, you're all,
Okay.
Yeah,
we're all on board for, we're
Yes.
all, prepared for that
Okay.
meeting.
yep,
So do you want me to do a special meeting notice for December 2nd prior to the work session?
as long as we have the documentation of what the shellfish population is in there, so
Sure.
that we can make a good decision on it.
What about the 1st, though?
Well, it's just that, we're all, Charles is, we have to think of CTV schedule
We can-
and,
Not
We
what I
can
mean.
we can put signage down there, it's closed, put it on our website and put a bay constable down there and let them say it's closed until after our meeting on the 2nd, okay?
Okay, sounds
Dawn,
good.
didn't you say we needed to do that by resolution?
I believe you would have,
That was one of the ways we can do it.
not enforceable by the bay constables.
Can you do a can you do a walk-on resolution
Yeah, I'll
right
do a
now?
walk-on resolution right now.
Yeah.
Do a walk-on,
Okay.
I make a resolution that we do a walk-on.
I'll
Second.
second it.
All in favor?
Okay, all right, but I need the content of the resolution.
I'll write it for you, right? That that pursuant to the sections that,
A340,
Wait a
section
minute.
16,
A340.
special authority.
Sean, could you repeat that, please?
Sure, it's A340, section 16, special authority.
Okay, so Tom's Pond,
that Tom's Pond will be closed until
Further notice.
till December 2nd,
Special meeting.
until the December 2nd special meeting.
Hey, Eric,
Yes.
then they'll think it's going to be open on the 3rd. It might not be open on the 3rd. You should say to further notice.
You could say check the site.
we have the last meeting of the year is 12/21.
Oh, make it December 3rd, because then you will have the meeting, the clamming will be, by the time the meeting's over, clamming will be closed anyway. It'd be an hour beforehand, so make it till the 3rd. And if you resolve to keep it, if you resolve to have it open, then it's open. If you resolve to have it closed, then you just make another resolution. Okay? On that.
Okay.
Did you
So-
get?
We
you
need
get
a motion and Eric's got a motion on the floor for a walk-on. We need a second to walk this resolution on, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and to adopt?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
You know, on the subject of protecting clam resources, and, after Dr. Gobler's report and after hearing everything that I've heard, my concern is, I think that as we review the fee schedule for the commercial permits, I think we need to factor in that we need to get these decal permits on these commercial boats, because there's people out there, I don't know who they are, I don't recognize them as local baymen.
Mm.
And that's a concern of mine.
Yep.
I don't mind fighting to defend this resource for our residents, our resident baymen, but I don't know, these looks to me like people are coming in and they're taking stuff out of the township, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, I agree with Scott because, Ed was saying this, and I spoke to some other clammers on the North Fork who I know. They want to come over here because we're the only area in Shinnecock Bay would have abundance of clams. Especially when it's windy, they do very well per day there.
I think the constables need to get on the enforcement end of that thing. And if it helps that there's that sticker on the boat, we could have IT put a symbol on there. It doesn't really matter the color. They can make the expiration year very large so that everybody can pretty clearly see, hey, that boat does not have a permit on it. Something's not right with that. Okay. It's a simple thing. And while we are playing with this fee schedule, I really think we need to fix that problem. I view it as a problem. I think it needs to be fixed.
Just
I
let
agree
the,
with Art.
just let the board know, Brookhaven and Patchogue and West Islip always had placards on their boats recognizing commercial fishermen and the number of their town permit on there so that they could be recognized easily by the bay constables, whether at the dock, when they're out fishing, or on a trailer. So I can attest that there's been at least several, if not more than several, new boats out in Shinnecock Bay in the last couple months. So, and I don't know who they are. I made some inquiries and they all have permits so far, but if the bay constables check them at the launching ramp, then we're guaranteed that they're legal to be out there clamming.
I think we need our bay constables to really be on top of their game, and we needed to have every tool possible to protect this resource.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I don't think it's that tough.
All right.
Okay.
That proves that a clam sanctuaries does very good for the environment.
I was pretty pleased with Dr. Gobler's report, and Dr. Gobler's report and what we saw also mimicked what we're hearing from the recreational and from the commercial harvesters. And I think that's a good story, and I think we need to preserve that story.
Definitely, and improve on it too.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
and that way we can improve by having small clam sanctuaries in all these little ponds and creeks to provide clams for the future of the people and the commercial guys.
Balance,
Billy, we have 11 clam sanctuaries throughout, maybe 12 throughout the town.
Balance.
We historically would add to them every year, something we haven't done in 10 years.
I think we also need to build on these areas where there is extensive eelgrass. And I think we need to indicate that also, and perhaps put together some type of a holistic chart that's going to show where the sanctuaries are, and in addition to these areas that have not been designated as sanctuaries as such, but the vegetation there kind of sets that aside. I think we really need to highlight that and protect that.
And speaking to some of the officials that are involved with the CPF water quality, they've been encouraging us to now take a more proactive approach on this and kind of mimic what we used to do years ago with the racks and buy the seed and grow our own, apply to them for a project to enhance bay even further, to grow them up to a size that they're going to survive and put them out for transplant. So, I mean, you see all these other Cornell applying, trying to apply in town waters, and Dr. Gobler and everybody else is trying to do all these projects. I think that we ought to take charge of some of this stuff and do it ourselves. We have the equipment, we have the barges, we have, work boats. I think we can step it up a little bit.
Well, I think the survival for the seed that we get from Cornell versus growing it out for another 8 or 9 months goes from like 5 to 10% to almost like 90%. So it's a lot of work, but it's a good investment, because I did it with the Baymen's Association and the trustees back in the 70s and 80s. We grew hundreds of thousands of clams
up in Hetty
we
Creek.
seeded the bay with.
By Hetty Creek reservation there. Yep.
We got anything more for this?
No. Then if there's nothing else, anybody have anything else right now?
I do, really quickly. Sag Pond is being opened today. I just want to remind people, in light of the fact that there's so many people out here that haven't been here this time of year before, that duck hunting season started the other day. It's open from half hour before sunrise to sunset, November 21st through November 29th, and then reopens December 12th until January 31st. And I do want to extend the invitation. Dr. Gobler is doing a presentation about Sag Pond that he wished to include the trustees in. I'll get back to you to confirm the date, but I believe it's Tuesday, December 15th at 7 p.m.
Is that going to be a Zoom meeting kind of a thing?
Sorry.
Is Gobler's presentation, is that going to be a Zoom presentation or?
Yes.
Okay. Send out a formal email invitation.
I'll get one.
Okay. One other quick thing on the Malcolmson situation. We are requiring a sand replacement plan to ensure permit compliance. What does everybody feel that the best date for that is? At the end of the season, most likely, right, before dredging season, so we can touch it up. So like November 1st, October 1st, November 1st. You should see how the summer went, right? After
Yeah, I mean,
after hurricane season and everything like that.
yeah, definitely outside of hurricane season, outside of plover season. I don't know if we're going to allow the contractor to remove some of the sand from the stockpile and put it on Mr. Malcolmson's property where it originally came from. That would be the best place to get the sand from.
Yeah, right. So November 1st or
Yeah.
December 1st.
I would say January 1st. That would get us, halfway through the winter and when it least amount of people on the beach to interfere with foot
Right.
traffic and stuff
Well,
like that.
corresponds with the January 1st that I put on the monitoring report.
Okay.
So we'll leave the same. Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody, huh?
One
Okay.
quick question, Mecox, the salinity. I know there's a monitoring buoy down there and some other devices. Do we know how much the salinity has gone up with the overwash in the last week or so? Because it was like
Yes.
8 all over in there, which was pretty low.
Yep, hang on one second. The salinity as of Friday, according to the floating buoy, was 10.85. I haven't gotten a report yet from today or the weekend. Sorry, I'm not dragging that up right now to give you the additional one. Mr. Wilson anticipates that all 3 of these locations will be online within the next 2 weeks, so that they are readily available to us. And one of the salinity stations was not recording, so he's repairing that tomorrow. The Crescent Avenue one was, there were some telemetry issues, and the Flying Point Road location was slightly lower at 10.097 for the salinity.
Now, being that we've been paying the college for these programs for some time, and they've been only working for a short period of time, would they prorate the fees they're charging us here?
Well, I know the CPF people are concerned with it. We are paying for this service and it doesn't seem to be available to us. So I have to start reviewing the contracts.
Maybe they could give us a year for free.
Well, we need to have a conversation with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, because we worked very hard to get these devices in there, and
Right.
we put it all out to the public that they can go
Right.
online and look at the salinity and everything, and it's not there, and people are questioning where it is. So I said, have a conversation with the rest of the board at the next meeting.
I've made numerous requests for the bringing them onto line. My email of Friday stated I plan to have the shoreline stations, my email from Mr. Wilson stated I plan to have the shoreline stations reporting in real time within 2 weeks. The floating station may take a week longer, as we have to write one more piece of software for it.
Okay.
So 2 weeks would be approximately the week of December 7th.
Okay. One other thing, I did contact the DEC shell fisheries today. A couple of the baymen approached me this past weekend about possibly doing a scallop transplant of bug scallops out of Peconic. Every year there's a very large juvenile population of scallops, and they never make it to harvestable size. So what I was thinking is asking the state if we could move 20 or 30 bushels of scallops, part of them in Western Shinnecock, part of them in Eastern Shinnecock, and part of them in Moriches Bay, so that we can put the shellfish out of harm's way as far as this parasite that seems to be killing the larger scallop population. So I have them, hopefully they're going to email back James in our office in the next day or so and update me with my request. So I think it's a good thing, and I have the Baymen that are very ambitious to do it. So it's something, a positive thing for everybody.
Good. Okay. Any scallops anywhere in Southampton town water?
A friend of mine was diving in Cold Springs for 4 hours, and he had 52 scallops.
What about off the Coast Guard station?
Yeah, there was two guys working there last week. I guess they got a bushel or so for dinner. So, I mean, there was a couple there, but those are the majority of those scallops that are there, I believe, from Cornell that we planted. There was a few bug scallops naturally in the bay, not very many. And I haven't seen any this year in Shinnecock. So what we planted will surely help the population, hopefully for next year. And if we could move a few out of Peconic into this bay, it would help too.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Yep.
I just spoke to Greg from Cornell. He's going to come over and do a survey the beginning of next week in Tom's Pond.
Thank you, Bill.
He's going to call me the day ahead of time so I can meet him there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
You should probably notify the Bay Constables that we're doing this.
Yeah, I will.
Because it's uncertified at the time he's in there, right? So you just got to remember that. All right.
Okay.
I just got an email from Mr. Wilson. I don't think he was watching the meeting, but I had asked if perhaps it would speed the stations up if they came on one at a time. His email states, the stations will come on one at a time. The station on Flying Point Road and Crescent Avenue are identical, so the second will follow the first fairly quickly. The floating platform is more involved and will take a little longer. Working as quickly as possible with getting things right, solid and right. Thanks for your understanding.
Oh, I do have one quick question about the floating platform in Mecox. When do they anticipate it to be removed? Because I have gone down there on December 1st and that place has been frozen solid. So they have to take this into consideration to watch the weather, because literally, I mean, there have been Decembers where that place will freeze right up solid down there. So. I don't know how long it will take them to remove it either. Is it something they can just pull out with a boat in one day, or is it something?
Yes.
Okay.
James, that's right? It's easy to take that out. It just seems like a shame to not get it working before it's taken out.
Yeah, but if the weather turns cold down there, that ice will break things up pretty badly down there.
I know that they are planning on taking it out. It's in the contract that they have to take it out because they take it out during the winter months, do the maintenance that needs to be done. The stations that are along the bay stay in, so you still get readings. And I don't think it will take longer than a day to get out. It's floating out there on a mooring, so you just drag it in and put it on the trailer.
Okay.
I'll mention that to Mr. Wilson, though, Ed.
Okay, yeah, because our maintenance boat has a boom on it, right, Eric?
Yes.
Bill? So maybe if they need to use that to pull it out easier, that we can accommodate them. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay. So
Happy Thanksgiving. Oops, sorry, Eric.
Yep. Happy thanks.
The world's smallest turkey.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye. We close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you.
Thanksgiving.
Aye.